Has there ever been a time that you truly believe you've encountered something paranormal? Part 2. I don't believe in the paranormal or ghosts. But twice in my life, I saw something that I don't have explanations for. I was in second grade and we were driving to the store. I was in the passenger seat and I saw a little boy chasing something into the street out of the corner of my eye, so I yelled, "No! Don't hit him!" And my mom freaked out, swerved and slammed on the brakes. There was no one on the street anywhere. I was a freshman in high school and had my room in the basement. One night, I woke up for no reason. So I looked around, sort of groggy, and I saw a strange shape under the stairs. It looked like a man crouched. As I stared at it, trying to figure out what it was, the shape stood up. I have never encountered terror so paralyzing. It was under the stairs and I felt trapped in the room with it. As I tried to figure out what to do next, the street light outside, the only available light in the room, went out. When my eyes adjusted, the shape was gone. I'm absolutely convinced that my brother and I experienced something paranormal years back. When we first moved into our house, I was about 12 to 13, and he was about 15 to 16. We were both home alone playing Sega Genesis in the basement, NBA Live 96. Yes, I remember the exact details. My dad was out of town on a business trip, and my mom had taken my two sisters to the mall. While we were playing, we both heard my sister calling for my brother from upstairs, yelling out his name twice. We both froze and looked at each other without saying a single word. Being the scared younger brother that I was at the time, I told him to just forget about it and keep playing. About 10 minutes later, we heard the exact same thing. My sister calling my brother from upstairs. This time there was no doubt in our minds that something weird was happening. We found whatever we could use as weapons. I found a tennis racket, he found a 2x4, and we went upstairs exploring the house. We checked every single nook and cranny in the house, but found nothing. A couple of hours later, my mom and sisters came back and we rushed to tell them the story. They just looked at us like two crazy people and continued with their day. My mom has always said there was something off about this house, but other than that one incident about 15 to 16 years ago and another one some 7 to 8 years ago, there's been nothing else weird that has happened. My first time I genuinely experienced something I thought was paranormal was in high school working as a theater tech. The musical was over and I was the last person out, and so I went to turn off the lights. We had a light board on one side of the stage and I was walking towards it. All of a sudden, the lights in the entire theater go out. So, I'm walking across the stage, in pitch blackness, stumble over to the light board and turn the lights on. I looked to see if any one of my friends stayed behind to play a joke on me, couldn't find anyone and went back across the stage to the light board. Again, they go off. There's only one other way to turn the lights off, and no one was there when I checked, so I think the system is being goofy. Then I hear the door at the back of the auditorium open. Oh snap. So, I squint through the blackness as I stumble back to the light board as fast as I can and turn on the house lights. Nothing. No one in the auditorium, no one I can hear or see. Now I'm freaked out and I'm looking around to see something, and coming down the center aisle, you can see a faint shadow that shouldn't be there. All the lights were on, house lights, all the beams, everything. There shouldn't have been any shadow, especially one that looked like the light source was behind it. It's about halfway to the stage. I say flurbo it, run to the board, shut the lights off and run out the back of the auditorium. Never worked alone in there the rest of high school. I used to work as a night shift CNA at a nursing home, and basically my job was to take care of old people who were incontinent. Now, I feel I should explain that I was manic as heck at the time. Meaning that I was temporarily psychotic for a few months, and a symptom of it can be hallucinations. Now, I have had a lot of hallucinations in my life, the most common, seeing people running alongside my car. Anyways, it was really late, 2 a.m. bed check I believe, and I walk in this lady's room. Now, this was a room all of my female coworkers were scared of because things would move around and the door always closed on them. I don't remember who it was specifically because I usually worked on a different hall. So, I walk to the room and open the door. I see a figure, really skinny and tall, crouched over the lady, with its arms doing something on her chest. Now the light was off in the room, but the light from the window behind it gave me a clear outline of what it looked like. After a split second, it looked at me and terror-fleeing locked my body up. I could see gnarly yellow teeth reflecting the hallway light back at me. All I could do was just stand there, in complete and utter terror. I don't know how to explain, but it was just giving out this aura of pure hatred. I had never felt it before in my life. So, I left and didn't bother closing the door. I decided to get some coffee because obviously I was having a problem. I walked to the cafeteria across the facility trying not to show how flurbo my brain was at the moment. I pour the coffee and as I turn around, I can see the figure again, sitting at one of the tables at the corner of my eyes. I jumped so hard and spilled coffee everywhere. When I turn to look at it head on, it vanishes. Probably going to be buried, but here it goes. I used to, and still am, a Scouts leader, and each year we go during the New Year's period to a camping site. Being in Canada, New Year weather is pretty darn cold. Think -20°C to -30°C, so the camping is done in lodges. The lodge we slept in had no toilets, so each night, before we went to bed, I'd round up my Scouts and walk them to the bathroom, which happened to be in another lodge at about a minute's walk. That year, I happened to have two really immature kids, and they were taking too much time to get ready, so I sent my Scouts to the washroom and told them that I'd catch up to them once the two guys would stop mucking around. A few minutes later, we were on our way. By then, most of the children had already brushed their teeth and went to the toilet. When I finally enter the lodge, I can see that most of them had congregated around the vending machine in the hallway across the toilet. So I enter the toilet with the two kids that were with me, and I check to see if there is anybody in the stalls. Is anybody in the toilets? Yes. I recognize the voice of Jay, one of my Scouts. I then proceed to brush my teeth. A few minutes later, I ask again. Is everything good? Yes. This time, I recognize the voice of another kid, W. At the moment, I make nothing of it and assume I just misheard the voice the first time around. Another couple of minutes have passed, and even the two difficult kids I was with have finished prepping themselves. So I ask, is everything good? Nothing? So I ask the two kids to start opening the stalls to see if something had happened to W. There were about 8 of them, all empty. The two kids start freaking out because they also heard the voices, and since they had been using the sink which was right by the door, there was no way for someone to pass without being noticed. So I send them to the shower stalls, again, no one. The two kids were now becoming really agitated, so I decide it's time to regroup in the hallway to head back. Back in the hallway, I see both J and W, both who deny having entered the washroom after I came. To this day, my Scout squadron refers to this incident as the poop monster incident. Yes. I was about 10 and it was the summertime. I woke up in the middle of the night because I was hot, and I looked over and saw what I thought was my mom sitting in front of my door in her nightgown. She was doing some weird repetitive movement with her hands. It looked like she was dealing cards. I said, "Mom? Mom?" a few times but she didn't respond, so I got out of bed and went over to her and put my hand on her shoulder. It was ice cold and not solid. I screamed and ran into my parents' room and just told them I had a nightmare so that I could sleep the rest of the night with them. My mom went to use the bathroom, and while I was waiting for her to get back so I could close my eyes, I saw the figure walk out of my room and down the hallway. This happened to my aunt and uncle about a year ago. My uncle is a chiropractor and owns his own office. A few of the girls who worked the front desk had said they have heard voices or children's footsteps when they were closing for the day, but nothing truly creepy until my nephew was playing during closing one night. At the time, he was about 2 and playing in the lobby with his mom while my uncle finished up some paperwork. Randomly, he gets up and walks over to the massage therapy room and pushes open the door. My aunt watches him just standing at the door, and then in a laughing voice, my nephew says, "Ooh, scary." When my aunt asks what it was, he says, "Come see scary." She walks over to the room and sees nothing in there. When she asks him again, he points in and, "Look, see scary." She kind of laughs it off and thinks that he is just messing around. So the next day, same thing. He's playing in the lobby and walks over to the door and waves to whatever he's seeing in the room. This time my uncle comes over and starts asking him about scary. My uncle steps 1 foot in the room and my nephew starts screaming at the top of his lungs. He grabbed onto my uncle's pants and refused to allow him into the room. My uncle, who is usually not fazed by anything, picks him up and as they are walking away, the door slammed by itself. Over that weekend, one of their old customers came in and burned some sage and some other forms of cleansing, and my nephew hasn't seen anything since, though every once in a while, he still asks about where scary went.